Hi, I'm C.G. Rousing, and I'm going to read Chapter 4 of my novel, Thoughts to Die For. Chapter 4 is entitled, The Uprooted Forest. An unfamiliar voice sliced the silence. Looking up toward it, I saw several heads, as though I were looking through a broken periscope. Disoriented, I rubbed my eyes, and the images blended. Standing before me was a boy, wearing a gray baseball hat and matching jumpsuit made of thin, glossy material. He held a black broom-like object at his side. Bristle-like tubes extended from a shiny metallic pole, which gave the impression it was motorized. "Crossovers are a trip, huh?" he asked, extending a hand to help me up. His other hand hurriedly pulled dark sunglasses from his jacket pocket and slid them on. By crossover, do you mean what just happened to me?" The boy grinned oddly while nodding. "Oh, then, yes, I'd have to say that crossovers are most definitely a trip," I said, grabbing his outstretched hand. He pulled me to my feet. "You're a sifter, right?" he asked, twirling the sleek apparatus between gloved fingers. Uh, well, Snur seems to think so," I hesitated. I couldn't label myself a sifter, being that I didn't yet fully comprehend what the word meant. "Do you know Snur?" I asked. "Nope, but sifters enter above the crater on the far side of the uprooted forest. You came through the doors." The boy pointed toward a majestic golden arch featuring 3 large spinning doors at its entrance. Words engraved across the arch read, "Ethereal Revolving Doors." "Why? How'd you get in that way?" I shrugged as I looked back toward the doors. The golden pulsating aura surrounding the arches was breathtaking against the double moonlit sky. The doors reminded me of revolving doors at department stores, except that these had spun much faster. Still, I had no idea what they were, let alone why I had entered through them. The boy twirled his sleek device again. "What is that thing?" I asked sharply. "A parapsych." "What does it do?" "Gets me around," he answered evasively, jabbing its back end into the ground. I brushed dirt from my knees. "So I have to get to the crater, huh?" "Yeah," he answered, emptying gravel from his shabby boots. "How? How do I get there?" I asked, noticing several slashing scars on his neck. Just as I was about to ask how he got them, he caught me staring and turned away at once. He threw a lanky leg over the parapsych and was airborne in a flash. I was surprised by the silent and seemingly motorless takeoff. I heard only wisps of wind as a swirling dust cloud enveloped me. I coughed. The boy paused mid-flight and hovered nearby. He turned toward me and yelled, "Follow the crystal road, through the forest. Can't miss it." The boy disappeared into the night. Seconds later something tumbled through the air, landing on the ground beside me. The initials V.S. were embroidered in gleaming gray thread on the front of the baseball hat. I couldn't help wondering if these were his initials. I realized too late that I hadn't asked his name. I put the hat on, and as I did, pieces of the clock-filled nightmare I'd had flooded my head in chilling detail. Moonlight reflected off veins of water hundreds of feet below where I flew. Whistling wind and the flapping of my t-shirt pounded my eardrums. A clock flew eye to eye with me as if it were challenging me to see which of us could fly faster. I caught its scent and gagged. Steam coiled into the air above its flared nostrils, and my insides squirmed. The flock multiplied along with my fear. I quivered in the cold night air, anticipating its next move. "We'll have to tell Orrible about this one," the thing bellowed. "He's got no business flying near the tower." Another honked miserably, as if in agreement. Recalling this nightmare felt as real as the nightmare itself, except that my memory of the nightmare seemed to extend beyond the nightmare. It was as if I were watching episode 2, although I'd only experienced episode 1. I'd had enough of this. I ripped the hat from my head, and the unpleasantness ceased. I couldn't help wondering if the hat had something to do with this strange phenomenon, but I dismissed the thought as absurd. It's just a hat, I reassured myself, securing it to a belt loop on my jeans. I looked toward the uprooted forest. With a stick in one hand and a rock in the other, I mustered up enough courage to begin the unavoidable journey. I reminded myself that I had agreed to all this uncertainty when I accepted the invitation. I was here of my own choosing, and would, bravely as I could, accept the consequences of my choice. Looking up, I realized that not only did the trees appear to be growing upside down, but they really were growing upside down. Bending over, I attempted to see the forest right side up, but the image was still amiss. I wondered if the crystal road really existed. As I took my first step upon the narrow passageway, I pushed aside dirt with my sneaker. This revealed a thick layer of shiny amethyst crystals. Not only did the crystal road exist, but I'd found it. I thought I'd feel relieved, but I didn't. Cool, musty air tickled my nose as I entered the cave-like jungle. Moonlight peeked through tangled roots above me, scattering slices of light and crooked shadows across the trail. It reminded me of something out of a horror movie, and I am not a fan of horror movies. The upside-down tree growth made the forest unusually dense. It would have been impossible to walk through if not for the hand-cut, tunnel-like trail. I tried not to think about Clawkins, but like it or not, thoughts of Clawkins came. As I struggled through the trail, I tried to imagine that I was walking home from school beneath the comforting California sun. This worked, for a few seconds. The warm, familiar feeling faded as I spotted a pitiful scarecrow hanging from a pole off to my left in a small clearing. Dressed in a shiny silver jumpsuit like the one the boy on the parapsych wore, it hung sadly. Slivers of light from twin moons reflected off the torn tinfoil outfit, dripping glitter on trees. It was a beautiful, horrible sight. Eyeing the creature up and down, I noticed it was missing a leg. I half-heartedly looked around for it, then poked it with my stick. As I suspected, it didn't complain. I said goodbye to my lifeless friend, whom I'd almost found comforting. As I turned to leave, something cracked beneath the weight of my foot. I bent to pick up a bamboo-like rod, trimmed with matted white fringe on both sides. It was at least 6 feet long. My heart sank as I realized that this was the feather of a Clawkin. Without warning, a nearby branch shook violently, and I heard a growl. A burst of air shot forth from an opening in the foliage. I gagged. It was the familiar putrid scent of Clawkin breath. I ran as fast as I could, all the while looking over my shoulder. Bushes rustled alongside the trail. I screamed for Snurr as my sneakers pounded gravel and my heart raced. A sudden and very loud noise echoed through the forest. Breathless from the impact, I fell to the ground. Stay tuned for Chapter 5. Hi, I'm C.G. Rousing, and I'm going to read Chapter 4 of my novel, Thoughts to Die For. Chapter 4 is entitled The Uprooted Forest.